Hello again, welcome back. And today we're going to be covering two different topics, kind of related to each other, but you'll see what they are once we get to them. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to say for this. Just enjoy the video. So this is the first subject. It's a post from online. It is going to be on screen, and it is from an account called Milton Friedman Quotes. Now, if you don't know, these people are like very big libertarians, and so they're just those people. And we're gonna read one of the posts from this account. They barely post quotes. It's just this guy. They post like anything of anyone who shares his views too, but that's besides the point. Let's read it out loud. So it says, raise the wage of airline pilots and air travel will become more expensive. Fewer people will fly, and there will be fewer jobs for airline pilots. Now, on the surface, this subject or this logic sounds, pretty well thought through, because when you raise the wages, usually that will get passed on in the actual cost. And when something's more expensive, less people will buy it, so less people would travel in planes. And that means if less people are traveling in planes, then there's not as much want for pilots to fly them around, because they don't care to be flown around because it costs too much. And so what he's saying essentially is that when the government tries to increase the wages of a group, then that is not a good thing. But it is more nuanced than that. I think I've already said this, but it is in fact a little more complicated, because we have to actually do the math. Now, if we look it up, as of December 31st, 2023, Southwest Airlines had 10,746. I'm using Southwest Airlines just for my example. You could use any airline if you wanted to. And now, let's assume they all get a salary increase of $10,000. That amounts around to $107.5 million. So that would exactly be $107.46 million. But we don't need to worry about that. Now, Southwest Airlines in 2025, they carried 134.1 million revenue passengers. And revenue passengers are people who were paying to fly. So, if we were to just split the cost of this wage increase for all the pilots among every single one of these money-paying passengers, how much additional cost do you think there will be? Well, the math is pretty simple. Like, you'd expect it to be less than $1. It's 80 cents. 80 cents is the amount of money that how much more air travel would become expensive. And already that seems pretty insignificant, because airline tickets or airplane tickets often cost way more than that. Like, they often cost in the hundreds and can even get into the thousands of dollars. But not only that, but we also have to compare it relative to how much the price actually changes just naturally. And what that means is how much does the price change? We have to look at that. Now, in many cases, the price of going on a plane can change by tens of dollars, and even in some extreme cases by hundreds of dollars, and that could completely negate any effect an 80-cent price increase would have. And not only that, but the real price, like how much it actually costs to go on a plane relative to what you are making, that cost has actually been going down because of the commercialization of airplanes that has happened in the past about 50-ish years, or even a bit more than that. And So as a result of this, an 80-cent increase in the price is going to do essentially nothing. It's going to do a whole lot of nothing. And Milton Friedman here, Mr. Milton Friedman, seems to think that that's going to do something. Fewer people will fly. How many people fewer would fly? Actually, how many fewer people would fly from an 80-cent increase? Uh, um, I don't really think it would be anyone. I think that no one would really care at all. And so I think that the amount of jobs for airline pilots would stay pretty much the same, like almost, if not exactly the same. So already it's dumb. It's just dumb. And I don't know why he used the example of airline pilots when it's so obvious to debunk this, because the cost can be spread out among so many people that raising the wages of 10,000 people, like the cost each individual person sees for that is like almost nothing. Yet I guess he thought it would make him sound cooler or smart, but no. It's just dumb. And that's pretty much what I have to say about this. So the first thing you should learn is that when you raise the wages of anyone, that doesn't inherently mean that there's going to be less of them in the future, or there's going to be less of them because of that thing. So just keep that in mind. Okay, now the other thing that we're going to be talking about in this video is a wealth tax. Now, what is a wealth tax? Well, I'll explain that, and then we'll get into the two other things about a wealth tax that I want to talk about. So, a wealth tax, it's, as far as the name goes, it's just what it says. It is a tax that is imposed on people who have a calculated net worth above a certain amount, and is a certain percentage of that wealth that they have to pay to the government. And now, let's see. First thing I want to say about this is the actual thoughts that I have on this. So, I think that all people should love our country, okay? I think that even if you are a very rich person, you should only be wanting to use that money to benefit your nation. And by your nation, I mean more necessarily your people. You should be wanting to help your people more, because that's like your family, that's your heritage. And I think that nothing should be interfering with that. I don't think the want of money that you will have whenever you have a business that creates a large amount of money, I don't think that should be the main driver of how you think. And with this, I think that rich people ideally would want to contribute, especially if they have such a large amount of wealth. They would want to be able to help out, or they want to be able to give to others. And I think that a wealth tax ideally is something that would be supported, because they're just fine with, some of their wealth being used to benefit others in their country, because that's what they should be wanting to do already. So that's just my basic thoughts on it. I'm supportive of it, and as for the economic arguments on them, that is the other thing that we're going to be thinking about. So let's look at this, okay? We're going to analyze two different examples, okay? We're going to look at what happened in Norway, and we're going to look at what happened in the great state of California. So in Norway, in 2022, they decided to raise it by about 0.15%, and it caused quite a lot of rich people to flee the country, and a lot of people tend to use that as an example for why it would never work if we were to implement a wealth tax. A few objections to that. First, Norway actually did succeed in recuperating pretty much all of the lost money that was the result of the people leaving. They recuperated all of that and a lot more over time. And not only that, but Norway, with like most countries in the world, they tax not based on if you're a citizen of the country, but if you're a resident of the country, meaning that if you're a Norwegian and your country increases taxes on you, you can move to another country while still having citizenship in Norway and just not pay Norwegian taxes. And considering that there's a thing known as the Eurozone, hey, just know that it's not called the Eurozone, it's called the Schengen area. Yeah, the Schengen area. So just remember that. Just small mistake I need to point out. You're welcome. Which makes it really easy to just go into any European country and just be able to stay there, because that's what the whole point of it is. Then it's really easy. It's really motivating for people to just, go to another country, because it's that easy. And it barely takes any time at all to plan and prepare. Now, with California, they haven't actually done it yet, but the lawmakers are proposing it, and apparently tons of people have already fled. Now, let's see. Well, the thing is, a lot of the same circumstances apply. If we look at California, you'll notice that it's not that difficult to get out of the state. There's a lot of other states that look good. There's a ton of other states that are nice to be in. California might be convenient for some, but a lot of people who are billionaires are in California did not inherently come from the state. That should be a no duh, but that's something else that we have to consider here. And it doesn't take that much effort to push them back to wherever they came from, or a state that's nicer than wherever they came from, but isn't California, which is, the one that they're trying to leave because of the taxes. And because of how easy it is, they just do that. Okay? Now, I think also the economic shock of an increase in a wealth tax might not help. This goes for Norway's case, because right now businesses calculate how much they're going to need, or individuals calculate how much in advance they're going to need to pay for the wealth tax, and so they had made sure to set aside a certain amount of money. But when the wealth tax was increased, a lot of them didn't, fully catch on, and so that creates a problem where they have to sell some of their extra stock, and it just creates a bad situation because it creates unpreparedness in an economy, and that's not ever good. Now, what else? Well, another thing is that even if you have a high wealth tax, and hypothetically, if every single rich person were to leave the country, then you would still get people who come back and do it. You'd still have people, not who come back, but you'd still have people who become rich enough in your country, from your country, homegrown from your country, who reach that limit and just stay there because it's the norm. Now, this doesn't apply to incredibly high wealth taxes, but incredibly high wealth taxes have never been tried, and I don't advocate for those. I advocate for about 2 to 4% on the high end, and I think that would be a reasonable amount. I think anything above that would be certainly too much. And lastly, I think that in the U.S., because the U.S. taxes by citizenship, I think that way fewer, as a percent, billionaires would leave the U.S. than as did in Norway, because of if we implemented a nationwide wealth tax. And the reason why is because in order to just leave a country and not lose your citizenship or anything, that's pretty easy, okay? It doesn't take that much work, and especially in Europe with everything they have going on, the little thing they have set up that makes it really easy to go across the countries in the EU, and more than that, but whatever. But in the US, they tax by citizenship, and that means that if I want to avoid paying US taxes, I not only have to leave the US, but I also have to revoke my citizenship. I have to renounce my citizenship. And the amount of effort, the amount of time and effort that takes, and not only that, but also just the idea of revoking your own US citizenship, even if you're not necessarily someone who's a big fan of your country, you're not like an absolute infatuator of your nation, that still definitely could feel wrong in your eyes. And so I think that you just would not see as many people who do it. Now, of course, with Canada and Mexico, we do have some limits, so you might see some people go to either of those countries. But then again, Canada also isn't as nice with rich people and taxes, and also Mexico is a cartel state. I don't think a ton of billionaires would want to be there. And if you want to prevent people from leaving, then you could just do something like an exit tax, and that would work just fine. And now, people argue against wealth taxes because it violates their principles. This is what libertarians do. They argue against it because it violates their principles, and their principles. This is a phenomenon that I've described as checklist politics, because that's exactly how it works. They don't think, how are we going to best improve the lives of our people? How are we best going to help them out here? They think, how can I make policy that complies with this idea of mine? And it's not like the idea has to be like promoting or self-preserving or being beneficial or contributing or supplementary or any other word you want to use to either of those ideas, but it can literally be anything. And some people just force themselves to craft policy based off of that. Now, that's a problem of being in any ideology which emphasizes principles so much. When you're a pragmatist, which means that you're not necessarily held by a set of ideas or principles, you can decide things from a realistic standpoint without having to keep or hold faith to any old beliefs. And I think with that, you're able to make the wisest judgment, because there's nothing impairing it at all. And of course, some principles may impair that more than others, but in the end, they all must carry some level of impairment. But yeah, that I've made this too long. I'm getting off track. Wealth taxes, go study them for yourself. Don't listen to what libertarians have to say about them. In fact, probably don't listen to what I say about it. Don't use me as your only source of information on them. If you want to form an opinion on them, please look them up and see other examples of when they've been tried. I know Massachusetts has one, or not necessarily one, but whatever. Just don't take everything I say for exact truth. And yeah, that's pretty much that. So, what was the point of all of this? Well, I just saw two interesting things that I thought, when combined, would make a great video, and I do like the end result of this. I think that you probably will too, because remember, I'm editing this and rewatching what I've said, and so I'm hearing what you're gonna hear in who knows how much time, because I don't know when I'm gonna upload this, and I think that you will like it. But yeah, these were just two ideas that I thought would be interesting to add together and make a two-part video. And so yeah, I will try to, in the next video, add more images, because I do think the images help with understanding what I'm talking about, and I know who a lot of my viewers are, and maybe it would help them, not to say they're dumb or anything, just saying that it's easier to understand something when there is more images. And so I'll probably try to use Paint 3D more. But yeah, that's pretty much the conclusion for this video. I will see you in the next video. Peace.